You just pour the oil in there like that. My uncle just drained the oil out of our 108 Kubota. So this is hydraulic oil. I think there's motor oil mixed in with that hydraulic oil because of how dark it is. So I think my uncle just put the motor oil in with it. So this project I got going on. So this thing I made, like, well, anything red I didn't make, but this here is basically a skidder, and the winch that was on it is this. This is the same model of winch, same exact thing. The one before had a problem with the clutch, so when you pull the lever, you couldn't pull the cable out. So we returned it at Princess Auto and got this thing, and this is exactly the same. So the price went up, so we paid a little more, but other than that, it's fine. So we're gonna put this on here, those 4 bolts, but there's a couple things I want to change. One is this thing should be solid. There's no reason for that to not be, so I'm gonna get a piece of metal, put it in there, weld it up, and then on the back, I'm gonna put some supports on the back as well, because I can see there's a bit of damage here. It's around this hole is kind of sucked in, or sucked out. And this thing fell out. And yeah, so that's all. I'm just gonna support this thing up a bit. And also I think in here it should be welded, so I'll just kind of finish off the welds. So this plug here, the problem with it is you gotta plug this thing in. This wooden beam is in the way, so I'm gonna just carve a little bit of it off. No, I haven't started that saw in like half a year, and that thing is pretty good at cold starting. And the fuel is probably pretty stale in it. It's not the professional way to do that, but this building wasn't done professionally. This was made out of, I think my uncle made the idea. He made his own plan to build this shop. And now the adapter go in there just fine. Look at that, now you can plug that. I guess I didn't have to cut all that away, but oh well. There, it works now. It's quite cold out, and so the phone battery gets low, so I have the charger on the end of this cord, and that's what this is for. It's for charging the phone. Switch back to the old tripod, because look at that. I'm using this one now. So I got an idea here. This here is from a really old stick welding mask, and I think what I can do is put this over the camera lens, and then you can actually see the molten metal as it's flowing in there, because without this, all you're seeing is a light that you can't really focus on. And just to let people know, I think most cameras, or any camera as a complete protection from welding light. So if you see me welding in the video, if you see it, it's not going to destroy your eyes forever. Because the camera cannot pick up the dangerous lights that's in real life. It can't pick up the ultraviolet or whatever. But this thing, if I put this on the camera lens, I think I can be able to see what I'm seeing under the mask, which would be pretty cool. wire brushes, the big ones or these little guys, when the ends get worn out first. So what you can do is cut it between the bristles, like you cut it, just with a cut-off disc, and you just kind of cut it right between the bristles like that. Now you got a good wire brush, and the ends are nice, and you can kind of get in places, and yeah. There was one bristle that I did go through, but it was worn out anyway. And then all the nice bristles, even cutting it at an angle, because there was one bad one on this side. And, and then, if you kind of sand down the edges, then you have a really good wire brush, and that's like a really nice tool now. Like, with these ones, what'll happen is this part, it'll all bend, and then it'll get all worn out, but the back part looks better. So then when these things get worn out, you just kind of chop the end off, and you chop them between the bristles, and then you got a good wire brush again, but it's just a bit smaller, and sometimes that's better. Everything on the tractor, then I'm going to see what angle this has to be, because this system, the cable will sometimes go up over top. It's broken there. This is cast iron. It's weak. It's greasy. This thing here, I think there's bearings in. This is what is supposed to be on there. So, and then cable can go any direction, and it's not going to bind anywhere. Because gas kind of dissolves grease. Unlike the D40, the WD-40 that I put in here, or it's something D40, or something like that. But the problem with that, the problem with gas is it evaporates eventually, but it dissolves grease, where the WD-40, it'll wash the grease off, but it doesn't dissolve it into a liquid, and then you can kind of get rid of it more easily. could not finish this hole because the stupid drill press has got these crappy plastic controls on it. Like, this thing is supposed to be able to like move that, and that adjusts this, so it's like supposed to like move it in and out, or no, it adjusts the motor here. It pushes the motor in and out. It's a terrible design. And in this thing here, I had a plastic control on it. And why is there two of them anyway? You're not gonna find this one. So this here it's just a terrible design. There's way better ways to make that work. And you don't need the center thing. They should just have a bigger motor with one of these and one of these. We had an old Craftsman drill press before this one, and that one worked. That one had a bigger, it was just a better one, but this is a terrible, it doesn't even work. I have to do it this way now, and I always hated these things, because sometimes they get stacked and bend over. They're so dangerous. You gotta have a good drill press, but we can see if we can finish it like that. So it's taken all day to get to the point where I'm actually welding that thing on. I spent all day today working on this, trying to figure out how to, like I took the other thing off, and I've all day trying to figure out, or most of the day, trying to figure out, how to get that all together. And so these pieces of steel have got a couple of holes in them there. You can see those holes for something else, right in there. See those holes. And because these are off of a disc or something. Then I got these pieces of steel there, and it just welded them up. Solid weld pretty well everywhere. And then I had to use my plasma cutter and cut out a centimeter out of the way, so the rollers, because the cable goes out here. And yeah. So, I didn't want these stuck out, because this is the same plate, so it would stick out to here, and then that would be a problem. So everything's done, and now time to weld them, and then there's a bit of space there, but it took all day. I can't make it perfect. I just want to get it. It's good enough. It's square enough. None of my projects are perfect, but I think that, these are on an angle for a reason, so that I could have room to put a bead on there, and then because of the way the holes were, everything turned out. So these are crooked for a reason, but this is not. That slit there isn't. But I got everything clamped on. My dad had to hold it so I could get those clamps on there. And yeah. And then this thing will be bolted to this, so this isn't welded on anything. So, and I have a spare, because that one on the wall over there was from, we had another model of the same winch on here. And when I designed everything, it had literally the same one, but the clutch had a problem where you'd pull this out and then you wouldn't be able to pull the cables. It wouldn't disengage. So we returned it at Princess Auto and got that one. I've said that before, and now it's taken all day, grinded down this, made so many measurements and cuts. So now I'm gonna tack weld it on there. It's not the tip. The tip is pretty well new. The wire like weld to the tip for no reason. I don't know why. Now it works. The tip isn't even that old though. No, no, the tip, I haven't really used it that much, so. I think this is just a cheap welder. Now it works. But that tip isn't even very old. It's almost new. Look at how shiny it is. It's weird. But like I've said before, I think this welder just needs a whole new nozzle because the trigger there is quite, just at the very end of it, it works. So the trigger's getting old on this. And I've had to repair it. I put like a piece of pipe in there and taped it up. That's a pretty good repair. Okay, so I just finished all the welds. I was going to do another pass on this side, but then the welder quit again. So it was quit when I started. I kind of got it to work. I replaced the tip on it and stopped again, so I couldn't weld these back. But I think, the arc welder did it. Didn't do it that good, but it did it. So, and then I welded these rebars all the way around. And that looks much better. The wire fed, you see welding, at any angle, it works well. They just look so much better, and they work so much better. They kind of stick to the metal better. Yeah, and then the chokers are off. And then these welds are all done, and I reinforced everything back here. Solid welded all that. It's center metal, but it's just to keep. And also I welded those two bigger washers together and then put them on there. Because this thing is mild steel, or it's weaker steel, not super strong. So, I keep those here so that it doesn't pull, the winch doesn't pull a hole in there. It kind of warps it like that. So it kind of, it's hard to explain, but yeah. And then these things are also to prevent that from happening. I was going to put a hitch on here, but then look at how much space, how long it would have to be. It'd have to go from here all the way out to there. So, and then, this thing is good because now you have lots of room you have all that room for a hitch. And I think you can make that longer too. So, and that way you can just hook a trailer up. And this thing is nice and out of the way. So, if your trailer hitch is long enough before the load, then you can tow stuff out of the bush, load it with the loader. And I used to do that for the skit that I made before this winch. I had a trailer on you had one tractor and you did everything with the tractor. You pulled the trees out of the bush, loaded them on the trailer, and you hauled the trailer out with the tractor, unhook it, then pull the trees out, load them, and then hook it up again, and then drive home. And you were able to get the whole job done with just one tractor and a chainsaw, and that was pretty interesting. So now the only thing left to do is hook up the hydraulic lines and see what my uncle's doing. You can ask him to shorten the hoses. They go down around the back and then up here. Because the ones here are way too long. And I don't think I could look around. Because this place is way too many hydraulic hoses. But the only thing is finding the right one. This thing has the right fitting on it. Let's see if we can get this chunk of hose out of here. Well, that's my first time doing that, and it seemed to work. So, turns out the threads were reversed. I was screwing it on the normal way, but the threads are reversed on this thing. So, yeah, it's in there, and I think now we can put it on. Now I need to find an adapter for that. I think we got one. Alright, so it took me about maybe half an hour to find this, but I found the adapter piece. This piece is what I'm after. I'm gonna get better filming stuff, a better tripod, and a better holder for the phone eventually. So now we're just wiring these hoses so they don't move anywhere. Let's see if it works. this up a bit. But that's going to get a little bit of rust on it over time, and it looks better. But yeah, it works. You know, that one long line is too long anyway, so we'll shorten that, get rid of that hole, and other than that, this thing I think is done, except for to put the chokers on. There's a bad line, there's just a little nick in it right there. Okay, so here it is. Everything's done except for that hose. So it did come with this pin, but I used a bolt to help hold these things on there. Yeah, because I think I had 6 of these plus this, which is 7, but now there's 5. There's 5 chokers, and then this thing, which makes 6, because you can use this as a choker as well. Just, wrap it around and then it's part of the log. So yeah. And hopefully this will work good now, because this thing, you can be pulling any angle and not have to worry about the cable. So yeah, and then they got these rebars to kind of help strengthen it up. So kind of satisfying modifying this thing over the years, and then I tightened these up. So yeah, so I think this is done now. Now I can finally get a load of firewood after we shorten that one line. Just got a leak right there somewhere, one little nick. And this thing, I just put a lot, like 3 or 4 days of work into this, and so yeah. So in this shop we got the main light, and then we got this light here, which makes that go on. And then you got what are those, party lights? They were party lights, but now they're utility lights, because I put, every second one, I put a really bright LED, and that light lights up the whole middle of the shop. And that's a pretty big difference. My uncle had a string of really old lights up there before, but they were too old, so I replaced them. So yeah, and then this here is actually a workbench. This is the only area of the shop I have not cleaned. I've cleaned out pretty much the whole shop over time, like over, a year or 2. So I should find some old pictures, and you would not believe the condition of this shop in those old pictures. It was unbelievable. This is kind of like our hydraulic collection. And these gloves, I think my mom got these for me for Christmas. And these were expensive. That was a good buy. I think they were on sale. She didn't pay that much for them. But these, you can turn them on. Oh, well, yeah. And then turn them on. Different temperature settings. They're heated. So, yeah, those are nice. They have these little DC batteries you can put in there and you charge them. Alright, so these here are the hoses. And putting those on here isn't really going to take that long at all. All I got to do is screw them in there, tighten them. And then put them through either here or there, and then plug them in, and you're done. Also, there's one more thing I gotta fix on here. And these things, I put those on there about this year. And I should have done that when I was 8 years old. This has been a huge improvement. That roof was flapping up and down for years. It's broke there like twice over, my life is like, so that's like 15 years. It's broken like twice. or even 3 times over 16 years. And then this here, you know, it's broken right there. I have to weld that on there. And then what I did here is I just welded nuts to the loader. And the loader's like never coming, this part is never gonna come off anyway. We don't have any reason to take the loader off of this tractor, so. Yeah, and then this goes, and then my uncle put that roof there. I painted that. The roof it broke, and then we put new plywood on it, so it was on and off, you know, once or twice. And then the final job, actually I did some more work to it, is, see up here, I put that in there, and then welded that up, and then I got a washer, welded a washer in there. Just did a bunch of welding washers on there. And then I just bolted it on, and that was the final fix. And then these things, which help a lot, because then you can kind of just grab that to get up in the tractor. So they are, I think they're good. Now they have the plugs on them. So they're both brand new. They were pretty cheap at Princess Auto. We just took the old hose. We just took this old hose in, and I had to adapt it to the right size. But when you get them made new, they can just put that size, whatever size they want on it. So we just took that one, and or my mom just took that one, and I told her to say, well, we just want 2 new ones of that one, the same length, with the same fitting on each side. And yeah, so 2 new hoses. And now everything's new, and everything is fixed up. All the welding, you know, is done. That's a little bent. You know, in the future, I can always patch that up pretty easily. But it took long enough to do all this, those 3 plates in there. But yeah, that'll be it for doing a major redesigning job on this thing. And that's pretty much it for this video. And then I'll make another video on using this for firewood. So stay tuned for that, I guess.